guys.
She looks at you with wet eyes.
Good to see you.
You know what? I think we are going to start over. And see how things start out. I dig it. We're gonna try a different character and see how things are different. Sorry. If I sound like shit. I have a cold. I'm trying to fight through. I think we're going to do Sibyl. So knight. Witch. Conjurer. Enchanter. May call me Tim. Inquisitor. Jesus. wish they told more about the Wayfarer right off the bat. Because, like, just those symbols down there don't mean a hell of a lot to me. Which? Knight? I think we're gonna have to go with the metamorph kids, because I see a tentacle down there. And a demon or a fucking something. Yeah. Like that one. Oh, yes. Pretty cool. Huh, that's pretty dope right there. Keyleth? Okay. Points sprout from your forehead, making you see red. You can rush your enemies and gore them. Increase retribution abilities by 1 for the duration. Incompatible with the Medusa head. Huh. You know what? Let's try that. What are her skills? Okay. Oh. Chloroform? Ooh, mosquito swarm. Sorry about the sniffling, guys. Enchanter. Alright, let's do it. Sorry you have to hear my, well, let's listen to this.
It all happened like I knew it would. A single drop of source magic. And, like flies to honey, the monsters swarmed. The rebel panicked. The carnage began. And the magisters pointed their fingers at me. Just as I'd planned. I was shackled and collared. And sent to Fort Joy. I'd come here to kill Godwoken. But instead I became part of their story.
So, still a bit groggy, are we? Don't worry, the sedative will wear off soon enough.
Let's see here.
Easy now. No need to hurry. Get your bearings and report to me upstairs.
What a dismal way to wake. In the belly of the beast. Let's see if I can grope my way out. Still, not the worst bed I've ever slept in. Still, not the worst bed I've ever slept in. Bones are so boring. Without flesh, there's no memories to be had.
Well, that's true. Boy, that's a true story if I ever heard it. I'll do paperwork.
animal pen. How utterly charming.
Shaking her fluffy coat, the sheep eyes you balefully, her rectangular eyes like letterboxes to the void. With one sharp hoof, she kicks you right in the shin.
Fresh meat. Nice. Plump. Banded like a chicken's leg, too. That may be so, but look at the flies. Ban wisdom. Flies know when a creature will die. And it's around your head they're buzzing, not mine.
With two shakes of her stumpy tail, the sheep turns away from you to peruse her hay-filled manger.
And that's why we get pet pal.
Did you expect a needle? Empty.
No known associates. In fact, he seemed quite averse to time.
Rubbish.
Why, you're looking a bit more chipper. Yes. Looks like that collar fits you snugly enough. Nice bit of work, even if I do say so myself. There you are. Not too tight, I hope. The collar, I mean. Oh, not to worry. Every dog has to get used to its leash. In the meantime, your next stop will be Magister William. All passengers have to be registered in the ship's manifest, and he's the chap in charge of the logs. You'll find him on the other side of this deck, in the officers' quarters. Why? Because we're at sea, of course, and have been for several days.
Index fingers pressed to her lips, she pauses a moment to give you a scrutinizing gander.
My word, you do seem a bit befuddled, don't you? Perhaps I was a bit too generous with that sedative. Oh, well, I'm sure you'll soon gather your wits. Most likely. Eventually. In the meantime, all you need to know is that we're en route to Fort Joy. A new life awaits, and if you're a particularly good girl, perhaps a cure as well. An end to sore. Why, for my peace of mind, of course. Why don't you try casting one of those source spells of yours? See what happens. Oh, do go on. I won't hold it against you. Promise. My, aren't we a meek little lamb? Perhaps I needn't have collared you at all, though it does look darling on you. So let's just leave it on, shall we? Because to answer your question, what this collar does is this. It makes you unable to cast Source. For your own peace of mind, of course. Yours and the whole world's.
Good gods. There's been a murder here.
No known associates. In fact, he seems
Behind
quite
the Magister,
alert.
a bloodied mass lies in a heap. Gore and limbs lie at odd angles. You can't make out a face amid the mess.
There's been a murder. A sorcerer was killed by one of your own. Lucky you were busy getting your collar fitted at the time, or you'd be a suspect like the rest of them. Waters is investigating. She'll figure out who did it. Always does. Move along.
A young Magister stands pale and silent. Her knuckles whiten around her weapon as you pass.
Ugly sight, isn't it? Burns me up this happened under our protection. We're extremely lucky no Voidwalker followed the source that did this. Finn didn't see it like that. He was desperate for us to help him. Two things scared the living daylights out of him. His own shadow and his own source. We'll find out who did this. Speaking of,
She looks up at you with a mirthless smile.
I was on duty in your room when the murder happened. You were asleep the whole time. Didn't even stir. You're one of the only indisputably innocent people on the ship. Unless you can commit murder in your sleep, of course.
Dallas is such a dear lending it to me.
I thought as much. Listen, I could use someone to keep their ears open among the passengers. Sometimes they clam up in front of a uniform. Bring me a good lead, and I'll throw in a shiny gold coin for you. How about that? Not in here, it isn't. You let me know if you hear anything. Whoever did this is dangerous.
I think I'll just walk all over the corpse there and step in the blood.
Come on, please, Losa.
That's enough now. Ah, there you are. Wife.
It was one of them. I know it.
Would you please tell this very charming gaggle of not at all brat-like babes that I am by no accounts this Losa woman, nor do I sing, in fact. I'm deathly, deathly allergical. Oh, they're not so bad. At least not when they're treating me, Madam Josephine Gribble de Peeve, with due deference.
The children break out into giggles.
What? What's so funny?
Her pinched face cracks into a great grin, and she shoos the children away from her with a laugh.
Yeah, okay, you found me out. Go on and git, and maybe I'll sing you something when I'm good and ready.
She turns to you, dark-eyed and dirty-haired, and smiles flatly.
Gotta keep ourselves entertained, haven't we? You presume right. Nope. Trying not to find anything out either. Ignorance is bliss. The utterer, the better. Thanks, but I already belong to an elite and exclusive ship gang. We play ball every day after lunch. You're too soft for it. You take care, though.
Suddenly, her eyes cloud to an unnatural black. Greyish veins run down her face, and her mouth tightens into a cruel sneer. As quickly as they came, the clouds clear. She smiles as though no change came over her.
Good luck, Chief.
It was one of them. I know it. You put a knuckle in it. I'm trying to concentrate. They don't care about us. I'll give you that knuckle if you keep carrying on. One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking us off one by one. Can we just skip to the part?
A scruffy man lounges against the wall with scarred arms folded. A sly smile playing on his face, he stares across at the Magister guarding him. Noticing you, he straightens and beckons for you to come closer.
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me to listen.
Watch your back, new fish. There's a murderer on board, and I'd bet 3 months' pay it's this tramp Ifan.
Rolling his eyes at the Magister's warning, the man named Ifan beckons again. He leans in and adjusts your collar with a sharp tug, balancing its weight so it no longer presses unpleasantly on your neck. He winks.
Pinches less that way, right?
Hocking a phlegmy gobbet in your general direction, the sullen Magister settles back to his task of glowering at Ifan. And now, you.
I've never dined on anything less than a dozen-course dinner, and I don't intend to do away with the custom.
Well, there has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Don't you get saucy with me when you clearly don't know the first thing about sauce.
We used to know each other, more's the...
Standing far back from Ifan grins, flashing pointed white teeth.
Same as he was at 14 years old. Only difference is somebody gave him a bigger sword and now he's Johnny... No. The dead man, Finn, is it? I'd no business with him. And I wouldn't put a man down without good reason.
He glances over at Magister Victor.
Damn shame sheer annoyance isn't reason enough. The joy, I've heard a lot. Nothing good. No surprise there, since Bishop Alexander runs the show. Wonder if we'll get to meet the ringmaster himself.
How dare you classify this slop as food? I've seen...
Easy now. I might think the same. But Vic here will blow a blood vessel if he hears you talking like that.
Nothing else I can make, Your Majesty. Turnips and water are all I was given.
What are you conspiring about over there? You, elf. What's your name?
Oh, don't mind him. Vic's just got a bee in his bonnet. And that bee is me.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty.
Name.
Maybe that has the Magister's more concern than your appetite.
Magister Victor looks at you suspiciously, then scrawls something illegible.
Away with you. At once.
Ifan performs an elaborate pantomime of keeping quiet, one finger in front of his lips as he leans back against the wall.
I'm busy watching for clues, sorcerer. Go take your sub-story somewhere else.
I'll give you that knuckle. Carrying on. One of us wouldn't kill our own. They're picking
A
us off
broad
one
dwarf sits totally upright on the bench, eyes closed, palms face up on his knees. His beard is a cascade of meticulous plaits, each one braided through with golden medallions. He raises an eyebrow as you approach, but doesn't open his eyes.
Listen up, Ghetto. You hear that? I've never dined on anything less than a dozen.
His eyes snap open. He looks at you and frowns.
Murder? Ah, that's what they were going on and on about. I wouldn't know anything about it. I kill a man. He knows who done it. His daddy knows who done it. And the mayor knows who done it too.
His eyes flutter shut, and he assumes his position of repose.
Whether they catch me is another matter, but I ain't one to hide my accomplishments. You are chill, aren't you? I ain't saying nothing.
I spent my life singing for my slaves to bring me my supper. Finer fare than boiled roots and rotten tubers, too. Meanwhile, the Magisters feast on honeyed meat behind this very wall.
Well, well. What have we here? A fresh face in this stale hell. Let's size you up, shall we? See if you'll do.
The lizard looks you up and down, like a farmer would a fetching horse. All of a sudden, he grips you firmly by the chin, with the intent of inspecting your teeth.
My, we are fierce, aren't we? Not to worry. I'll soon remedy that. Now then, to business. You will answer me 3 questions. The first one is this. Can you cook? Oh, goodness, no. And don't even mention the demon's testes that are turnips. On to the second question. Can you knit, weave? In short, tailor?
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Yes, well, I'll count that as a no, shall I? On then to my final query. Have you the ability to administer the upkeep of one's personal appearance? The delicate art of cosmetics is what I'm after. Just as I thought. That explains what's besieging my nostrils. So, 3 questions asked, 3 questions answered. As per your own testimony, you have the taste buds of a dung beetle, the fashion sense of a monkey in a clown suit, and your personal hygiene reminds one of a carcass rotting in the sun. That won't do at all, see? I'm sad to say I must deny you the opportunity to be my slave. Ever so sorry.
Mad? Insufferable, surely.
What are you trying to hear anyway?
I'll tell you if you can keep it quiet long enough for me.
I'll have you know that threatening one's master is punishable by death. You'll never attain the rank of slave with manners such as that. Still, hone your skills, and one day you may just qualify for a position in a lesser household than mine. You keep dreaming, you hear? No, please don't come begging me. I told you. You can't be my...
You've got this wolf on a leash now.
As soon as the Inquisitor gets here, we'll hang you right over the side of this ship with him.
It was one of them. I know it.
You! Sorcerer! Blood?
No.
Go!
Ruff. They don't care about us. We're like cattle to them.
I'll give
Name?
you that knuckle if you keep carrying on.
One of us wouldn't kill our own.
The Divine Order wants to know. Well, you aren't here on my list. Scram, eh? We're trying to catch a killer here.
You think me mad?
You look a little bit elfish. Maybe your daddy was an elf. My daddy's name is Frida. He's waiting for me at home. I'll go home soon.
Yeah, sure, kid.
Are you an elf? Wow. I want to be an elf when I grow up, but without the scar. Do you know Losa? She's a really good singer. I'm better though. Listen. La 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 la.
Oh, dear God.
Your kind always hung closest to our divine, like wolves around a campfire.
Here's the register, ma'am. Good, good. You faring okay so far?
He tugs the collar of his uniform and chuckles.
Sorry you're upset, ma'am, but we all wear what we wear for a reason. You head on in now, Williams.
The elf is reading a volume of Cranley Hubert's famous encyclopedia. He looks up, his big round eyes scanning your body, absorbing every detail. He reaches out and examines your face, tugging at your ears and prodding your nose.
Fascinating.
He sits back and returns to his book, flicking quickly from page to page, completely oblivious to your presence.
I am not as brittle as all that, young lady. My fingers will hardly... Although perhaps you mean... Oh dear. I seem to have crossed some cultural taboo. How... difficult. You have my apologies, fellow elf. Perhaps I should demand the same from those red-cloaked humans. They laid their hands on me more than once.
There has been a murder, Your Majesty. Maybe that has the Magisters more concerned than your appetite.
Perhaps. Perhaps not. Take this book, for example. I understand all of it, and yet none of it makes sense. It is simultaneously too detailed. Tell me, what do you know of our world's history? Most unusual. And if it's not too rude to suggest, not much of an answer. No, I want to know about the Celestial. I want to know about your gods. This text tells me that they... Where did these gods come from? Who are their people? Where are the others of their kind? Of course you don't have any useful information. Now please, run along. I have a world to decipher.
No amount of pestering will...
I've seen more appetizing things coming out of plague-stricken pigs.
And if she tries to run, shoot to kill.
Nothing else I can make, Your
You
Majesty.
seem on edge.
Standing at the center of the room, you spot a sorcerer...
So you admit it then? You murdered that poor fella?
Yes, I did. But of course, that was only the beginning.
She turns her head and looks you...
There are others whose lives must...
Good God, the woman's mad. You there, sorcerer, go and fetch Magister Siwan. We need to do more than collar this maniac. We need to shackle her, hands and feet.
No, I'm afraid I always perform my part solo. Do stay and watch, though, because...
She reaches for her collar and simply removes it.
I'm just about to create a scene.
Subdue her, men, quickly! If she casts source, the Voidwoken will come. They'll end us all.
She smiles with wicked satisfaction.
Precisely.
I love this game.
What's happened?
Oh. Man, it's time to loot everything. Oh, yeah. Oh, what the hell? I was gonna say, well, now I'm on fire. Doesn't look like there's anything really good in there anyway.
The hound paws desperately at its snout. It winces as it draws blood from its wet black nose and continues scratching. The dog notices you for...
Shush!
It sneezes suddenly and...
Can't smell. Please, make it stop. Oh. Too much. Too much.
The dog whines.
Not long before this thing snaps into splinters. Great gods! Something's pounding on the hull. Damn it! I need to get off this wreck, and quick. That doesn't bode well. Onwards and upwards.
Gods! By divine grace, who was that howling?
He eyes the collar circling your neck and
Another sorcerer! Even if I knew how to rip that thing off, I wouldn't. Some crazy banshee comes screaming through, and now we got void bugs swarming up top. Saw it coming, I did. Sorcerer mutant.
Yeah.
Go on then. Find a place to hide.
Alexander, the boy bishop that would rule the world. Oh, the folly of youth.
You need to find a hiding place.
What will happen?
You thought Rivellon was flat. The marking on the door was painted recently, judging from its pungent scent. You recognize the symbol immediately for what it is. A warning of death fog within. You press your palm against the door to open it. The wood feels neither cold nor warm. It doesn't budge. You pass through the door, and a suddenly faced the skeleton is quickly leafing through a volume of Cranley Hugh.
No! What damn fools record knowledge on a pult? It catches fire.
The skeleton looks up.
Oh, it's you. Shouldn't you be running and screaming or some such? Remember, one of your race's weaknesses is having your lungs filled with water until you can no longer breathe. So, try to avoid that, perhaps.
The skeleton resumes his search, leafing through page after page, while hunching over the book in a futile attempt to keep it dry. The moment you touch the door, the door groans open.
Something's breaking through. What in the hells are those things? I need to get out of here. Now!
Okay, well.
By the gods, I need to get off this ship.
Ooh.
A lifeboat. That means there's still a chance.
As the dead man's flesh slides down your throat, you feel his consciousness enter yours. His memories are yours to experience. You are Finn. Your heart is heavy. You know too much. It's all too much. You met him. A bright light blinds you, then fades. You feel a tremendous power in your hands, but they are shaking so hard you can barely use them. Suddenly you're on this very ship, crouched in a corner, hugging your knees. A figure approaches, an older woman. Her eyes are kind. She comes closer. She says she wants to talk. She reaches a hand toward you. You grasp it. The memories end. You are no longer Finn. You return to yourself with a jolt. The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound.
Seems silly given that it's already raining. Oh.
Shut your trap, kid. Children and dwarfs first, just like the old story.
The dwarf yanks at one of the nearby ropes.
But there were other people.
You see those tentacles, kid? It's time for getting the hell out of here.
Fuck you! There's a ladder right over there.
You're gonna be the death of us from here. Head to open your big mouth.
The Magister lies on the floor, unconscious and bleeding from a dire-looking wound.
If you can walk, get yourself up the ladder. There's a wait. Void woken.
Wow.
I've faced worse.
They who are about to triumph.
I thought Void Woken was supposed to be scary. We make a pretty good team. I hear something. It's Magister Siwan, the one who put on this damn collar.
She tries to speak, but can only gape as she clutches her neck, trying to stem the bleeding of a gushing wound. With jagged movements, she raises her clenched fist and holds out a length of cloth soaked with some kind of strong-smelling tincture. Blood quickly soaks through the cloth. Magister Siwan's mouth opens and closes, her eyes wide in terror.
I have plans for you, child. Rise.
Honorable Dallas, we lost a ship sailing sorcerer prisoners to Fort Joy. We assume some escaped and broke their collars. Their vile magic lured the Voidwoken. All who were aboard are presumed dead. Yours faithfully into eternity, High Judge Orivan.
I've danced with death before, but that was a particularly intimate waltz. I suppose I'm the lone survivor. How jolly. Voidwoken. Those are the same beasts that sank our ship. Damn, we made it to shore. I thought these bloody collars were supposed to keep those things at bay. Magister Jalen from the ship. I would have chosen a swifter death for him myself.
You spot a strange lizard gazing over the water with a steady, malcontent stare. His skin is of a bright, blood-red color. Could he be... Yes, you recognize him from the ship. It would seem you're not the only one who survived the tentacles of the deep. The lizard turns about with the graceful ease of a dancer, or a duelist. You lock eyes with his, two smouldering embers that sizzle your very soul.
No, I do not. Then again, I don't belong to the House of Dreams. I'm a prince of the House of War, a house you seem to be all too familiar with, judging by that rather fetching mark on your cheek. implication being we are equals, I assume. I no longer a prince, and you no longer a slave. You silly girl. Not even Fort Joy, this horrid pimple on the hide of hell, can undo such distinctions. But what is more, and far more serious this is too, is that you've clearly relinquished your duties by running away from your rightful master. A crime punishable by death. You know, I think I've heard of you. The assassin with the needle. I'd much rather have one such as you for an ally, not an adversary. After all, you did come back for me and all those others on a sinking ship. What do you say we bury the hatchet, you and I? For now, at least. Good, very good. I'm glad you're being so sensible. Glad I can return to my ruminations.
He sighs dramatically.
Tell me, what do you see when you cast your glance over this ocean? Judging by the dark pools that are your eyes, I'd say you're seeing yourself.
He looks out over the water once more, and so do you. A few tranquil moments pass as the waves lap against your thoughts.
As for myself, when I consider this vast expanse before it, I see continents dotted with mighty cities. And shimmering along the soft curve of the sea's horizon, I picture the palaces that formed my paradise. Lost. Of course, it's rather specific. Quite obviously, I'm musing over the very actual empire that I lost.
Suddenly, having all the air of being deeply offended, he stares at you with utter incredulity.
Well, don't just stand there gawking like an ape at an abacus. I already told you I'm a prince. Do you mean to tell me you don't know who I am? The very same. I am the Red Prince, the All-Conqueror, the World-Tamer. Of course you know me.
There's a brief moment's pause, during which his grandiloquent pose deflates ever so slightly.
That said, I suppose I must own up to the fact that I find myself rather in between all-conquering and world-taming opportunities at the moment. The grandeur that is my fate has hit a bit of a snag. But never you worry. For the throne I was destined, and my throne I shall have. This and that. Tag along. Do you really mean to compare the fate of an empire? On the other hand, I really could do with a dog's body. And you've already proven to be trustworthy enough. You came back for the others on that ship, after all. Fine, I accept. On one condition. For reasons I'll not disclose right now, it is imperative that I should meet. I've reason to believe one of them may be present on this island. Most likely the same chap you're looking for. Promise me we'll find him, and I'll extend you. You do tend to beat around the bush, don't you? Oh well, that wishy-washy answer will have to do then. So, now that that's settled, first things first. Even if you are as versed in the art of eloquence as I am, that our swords will be doing a lot of the talking from here on out goes without saying. As a born fighter, I prefer the perfection of the blade myself. But I'm well acquainted with the secrets of magic, and yes, even subterfuge. What say you? Very well. Onwards then.
The Red Prince nods and gives you a smile that wavers ever so delicately between courtesy and contempt.
Now, as you're aware, you'll be traveling with a prince. Proper forms of address include Your Majesty, Your Royal Highness, or if you're feeling particularly frivolous, Milord. As your luck would have it, I seem to be fresh out of luggage, so you won't be required to carry my belongings. Of course, there are other forms of protocol to bear in mind, but I'll see to it you'll pick up the rest as we go. So, without further ado, let us be off.